In today's video, we have all kinds of NHL news and rumors to take a look at, including a potential trade between the Leafs and the Blue Jackets ahead of the NHL trade deadline. Could we see Jackets captain Boone Jenner become a Maple Leaf? We'll look at that possibility. It seems as though trade talk is picking up around former Leaf Michael Bunting in Carolina. Frank Saravalli is also reporting that there's a lot of teams interested in Senators defenseman Jacob Chychrun. We'll discuss that possibility, if he's actually, likely to get moved or not. Plus, we have big news regarding Corey Perry being deemed eligible to return by Gary Bettman. We have a waiver claim today, lots of recalls and roster moves, including the Maple Leafs calling up Ilya Samsonov from the Marlies. All that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a lot of news and rumors to take a look at here today. I did have a news video out just a little while earlier tonight, so certainly some of these items I'm going to go through a little bit more, briefly now. If you want a little bit more of an in-depth analysis, you can make sure you watch that other video to get more analysis on that. But essentially, Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet's reporting tonight that Corey Perry's been deemed eligible by Commissioner Gary Bettman to return to the NHL. Of course, he was terminated by the Blackhawks back on November 30th for inappropriate off-ice conduct. And obviously, we've been kind of waiting to hear what's next. Is he going to file a appeal through the NHLPA, try to get some of his lost income back? Well, that hasn't happened as of yet. We don't know exactly what's going on there, but we do know he's obviously, if he's going to the commissioner for approval to come back, then we know that he wants to play. Now, of course, keep in mind, Corey Perry was not required to do that. Gary Bettman never suspended or banned the NHL player from participating in a return, so it's not like he needed his approval. I think he just wanted league approval so we could go in and show what he's done in the interim here to kind of, try to better himself and show that he's learned from his mistakes, so to speak. So we'll see where Corey Perry ends up. I have no doubt there'll be lots of interest. There's lots of teams around the NHL who could use a veteran player like Perry. So be curious to see just where he ends up. As I mentioned, we have news from the NHL waiver wire today. The Anaheim Ducks have claimed young defenseman Gustav Lindstrom on waivers from the Montreal Canadiens. A 25-year-old defenseman was originally a second-round pick by the Detroit Red Wings in 2017. He came over to the Habs in the Jeff Petrie trade this past offseason. He's appeared in 14 games for the Habs so far, putting up a fairly impressive 3 goals and 1 assist. I think he's actually had a decent run there, but unfortunately for him, the Montreal Canadiens do have a ton of young blue liners that are kind of competing for spots. Way more defensemen than there are ice time and spots available. He will be an RFA at the end of the year with arbitration rights. Obviously, the Ducks just traded Jamie Drysdale. They could probably use another blue liner so they don't have to, I guess he's a little older than some of their other prospects, so they don't have to rush them along, and just kind of takes a spot there. So ultimately, Lindstrom will see what kind of opportunity he gets in Anaheim, but the Habs are unable to hold on to him as he's now claimed on waivers. New on waivers today, the Colorado Avalanche have placed veteran forward Chris Wagner on waivers. Now, Wagner has not played this season. He was listed as non-roster injured reserve since the beginning of the year with an Achilles tendon injury. He appears ready to make a return at this point and will need to go through waivers, as the Avalanche would like to assign him to their American Hockey League affiliate. So I suspect, being out long-term on an Achilles injury, that he will not be picked up, and that tomorrow we'll find out that he cleared and can be reassigned to their AHL farm team with the Eagles. So we'll see where that goes. Some other news and notes around the league regarding some injuries. Connor Bedard in Chicago. We got more of a clear picture of what he's dealing with. We knew it was a jaw injury, but now we know he did require surgery to correct that fractured jaw, and he's looking at a 6 to 8 week recovery. Obviously, that's going to put him out basically till the end of February, 1st of March, which will include missing the All-Star game. It's not quite clear as of yet. We haven't seen an announcement from the NHL if the league will give another Blackhawks player the opportunity to replace him. I know they don't have to do that. I mean, they do want a rep from each team, but at the same time, I don't believe, if I'm not mistaken, Seattle rep last year was Beniers, and he was not able to go because of injury, and I don't believe they sent a replacement. Plus, Bedard, by the time we get around to the All-Star festivities, he's likely going to be he's not going to be ready to play, but he's might be recovered enough that if he's up to it, he may be able to go to the event just to be there, do media, and just kind of promote the game a little bit. So he still might be there. We'll have to wait and see, but definitely won't be on the ice for any action of any kind. That we do know for certain. Boston Bruins lost goaltender Linus Ullmark last night in a kind of an odd scenario, but I mean, it happens at times with goalies. He essentially stretched out, put his glove up high around over his head to make a glove save, and then he went down and he just stretched out to make a glove save and went down in agony. Had to be helped off the ice, wasn't really putting any weight or walking much on his own. It's really difficult to say. I don't want to speculate what it is. We'll find out eventually from the Bruins. They'll probably just call it lower body injury, I suspect, but we may learn a little bit more details. It just depends. It could be a groin, obviously. It could be a hip, could be a knee, but certainly when he stretched out, something gave way that he went down in a heap of pain right away. And this was during overtime at that. They were playing the Coyotes. The Coyotes played them, made a tough game out of it for them, got it to OT. Jeremy Swayman had to come in cold after being sitting for probably 2 hours, 45 minutes, something to that effect. And the Coyotes didn't end up winning the game. But at the end of the day, the Bruins get a point, but they're obviously concerned for Ullmark and what he's dealing with moving forward. We don't have a clear-cut update as of yet. I suspect that probably won't come for another day. But, bad news there. I mean, thankfully they have Swayman and he can run with things. And instead of platooning, they can be more of a starter, a full-timer. But if Ullmark could be dealing with something pretty serious, it wouldn't be shocking to find out that he's going to miss significant time. And as much as Swayman is good, you can't play him every single night. And, you got to wonder what that'll mean for their push for the playoffs. Will they look at other depth options if he's going to be out for a super long time? It raises more questions than answers until we know more. But it didn't look good, and we certainly wish him a speedy recovery, but I suspect it's going to be a bit before he can make a return. And the other, a couple other quick things. The Rangers today recalled both young defensemen Matthew Robertson and forward Jake Leschyshyn. Robertson appears to be a call-up as a just-in-case type of scenario. Jacob Trouba has been away from the team the past day or two, dealing with a personal matter. I believe he and his wife are expecting a new baby here anytime, and that seems to be the reason he's out. So it's not clear if he's going to be available for the next game or not, so they want to have an extra D on hand. I don't think Robertson will suit up. I think he's just the extra guy just in case. I imagine Zach Jones will go into the lineup, and Leschyshyn, not clear if he's going in the lineup or not either, but they certainly do have some other things on the go there in the forward group that could cause a lineup change. So we'll have to wait and see. Kako, I'm not sure if he's an option either to return. I know he's getting close too. So we'll see. But some recalls there for the Rangers as they prepare for their next game. And as I mentioned as well, the Maple Leafs made a really surprising move today. They recalled goalie Ilya Samsonov from the Toronto Marlies. I did not expect this. I thought we'd be looking at least a couple more weeks, given the fact that he never played a single game in the minors. Yes, he had time away from the group. He was probably able to hopefully do a mental reset. I know he's had lots of time to work with various members of the coaching staff that kind of help regain his form and find his game. But they will not know if he did or not because he's not been in any kind of game action since he was put through waivers. So it's surprising. I get it in a way. They want Dennis Hildeby to be able to play. He needs to ideally play in the minors. It's best. What's best for him, but what's best for the Leafs right now? And obviously Jones is going to have to play the bulk of the playing time for at least the short term while they kind of continue to build up Samsonov's confidence and see if they can get him back in there. I suspect they'll probably try to get Samsonov a game when it's maybe a weaker opponent or something. I don't know, looking at their schedule exactly when that's going to be. But yeah, surprised that he gets to come back without ever playing a game for the Marlies. Now, where he just cleared, if they do want to shift Samsonov and Hildeby back and forth a few times, that might be an option for them. Obviously, you only have to clear waivers once every 30 days, so he may be able to go back down. I don't know. It may depend on the schedule between the AHL and NHL and kind of look at things back and forth. But yeah, it's very surprising that because if he's on the bench as a backup, there's a chance he's got to go in. And if he's not ready for that, it just could cause more harm than good. But time will tell. We'll have to wait and see where that goes. Now, as I mentioned, we have a few things from the rumor mill I wanted to address today. Obviously, when it comes to trades, a lot of insiders are putting out updated trade bait boards. We're kind of into that part of the year now, where we're basically just, I think, pretty much 2 months exactly to the NHL trade deadline. So we're in the home stretch of 60 days or less. Lots of teams are talking and, debating on what to do. According to Frank Saravalli, he wonders about the Ottawa Senators, which is no big surprise based on the year they're having. But the name he mentions in his most recent trade bait board article here is surprising. It's not so much that he's being shopped, but he says lots of teams are inquiring on Jakob Chychrun. Now, are the Sens going to make changes? I have no doubt they will. What exactly they are, we don't know. But Jakob Chychrun, they paid a pretty hefty price to get him out of Arizona. I mean, yes, it wasn't as significant as they originally was rumored to be, was they, played back and forth games here with the Coyotes for many, many months before pulling off the trade. Essentially, though, he has connections to the area. He's got a great contract. Yes, he's had a pretty good year. Defensively, could it be better? Sure. But you could say that about everybody on the team. And to me, I just think it makes more sense to move a guy like Chabot. The rationale here is that they have Chabot, they have Sanderson, they have Chychrun. Sanderson, by far, is the most untouchable out of all three. He's the youngest, and he's by far the future and will be the main defenseman on this team if he isn't already. Chabot, however, makes $8 million. Hasn't really lived up to that contract. Once he was looking great young in his early part of his career, got the big extension. He's dealt with a lot of injuries and just hasn't been quite good enough, in my opinion. He's good. Does he make the Senators better when he's in the lineup? Mostly, yes, but you can argue that Chychrun, to me, is even more valuable. That's my take. So could Chychrun be traded? I suppose it's possible. When a team is struggling, there's not too many players that are considered untouchable. I just don't know that it really makes sense. Just because teams are calling, as we talked about on this channel a lot, doesn't mean a player is going to get moved. I have no doubt there's interest in him. Great contract. He's still fairly young. He's played really well in Ottawa. He's been able to stay healthy. Lots to like. I just don't see him being a target for them to move, but it'd have to be a deal to knock your socks off, and I just don't see that happening, but you just never know, I guess. But keep an eye on Ottawa. I suspect guys like Kubalik, Tarasenko are the guys that are on expiring deals. They'll definitely be most likely moved. Could they shake up the core a little bit? It's possible. It's hard to say. They're going to be trades that the team is going to want to be a little bit more careful with and certainly take their time with. But, I don't see them moving Tkachuk or Stützle or Sanderson or anybody like that. But, when you get to a Josh Norris, Chychrun, I wouldn't think so, but maybe. Then you get Chabot. Could one of them go? It wouldn't be shocking if they really the expression back about a week ago was send a lightning bolt through this roster and really wake them up. I don't know. Time will tell, but they're going to be a hot topic leading up to the deadline considering how they've been playing. In Carolina, Michael Bunting is apparently really getting a lot of more attention on the rumor mill as well. We had talked about him once or twice in the last couple of weeks, and new reports indicate that things are kind of picking up. The Carolina Hurricanes have other moves they'd like to make, and freeing themselves of Bunting's salary would be wise. I mean, he signed there as a UFA this past offseason, so it hasn't been a long tenure there by any means, but at the end of the day, Bunting started off in the top six and it's kind of worked his way down the lineup, at times playing third and fourth line, and I just don't know if they really like the fit as much as they did in theory in the offseason. So there is speculation that now they may not want to do this within the division, but that Kyle Dubas and the Penguins are very much interested. We know the Penguins likely would try to add another scoring winger to their top nine. He obviously knows Bunting very well from their time in Toronto. It could be a good fit there as well. Now, would Carolina want to help Pittsburgh? I don't know, considering they're the same division in, kind of competing for the same top three spots. Pittsburgh are they a bit behind? Yes, they are, but they're still not within, they're not out of it by any means, and they're within striking distance. They can get in there if they have a good streak. So I don't know what happens with Bunting. I can see a potential trade, but it's kind of a little bit difficult to say exactly, given where his contract is and how he's performed this year. But no surprise that Pittsburgh is a team that's interested. And could we see a Leafs and Columbus trade? I see reports that were based on conversations that were had on the Sportsnet program / podcast Real Kipper and Bourne with Nick Kiprios and Justin Bourne, talking about a potential deal that would send the Jackets captain Boone Jenner to becoming a Toronto Maple Leaf. Of course, Jenner himself is 30 years old, signed for 2 more years after the current season at $3.75 million. Certainly plays a lot of top minutes at center for the Jackets, but on most teams he'd probably be a good number 3 center. Can score goals for sure. Can play a gritty style, and can be a good, to me, a good kind of player you'd want to have on your team for the playoffs. So would he be a fit in Toronto? It's quite possible. The number 3 center is certainly an area that I think they would really like to upgrade. My only concern is how are they going to fit this into the salary cap? The rumored return would be young winger Nick Robertson, who on the California trip was made a healthy scratch a couple times, got back in the lineup due to players being sick with the flu. But Robertson, I'm not sure he's completely earned the trust of Sheldon Keefe to be a regular yet. And it's rumored that he could be a trade piece for them to upgrade here for their playoff run. So we'll have to see where things go. Do I like Jenner as a fit there? I do see how it could work. I just don't know. Robertson's salary alone is not going to be enough to make it work from the cap perspective. Are they going to have an ability to make additional space? Maybe. I mean, would Columbus retain salary there? I don't know that they would, or at least not much, given the fact that he still has 2 more years. So I don't know that the Jackets are really going to be all that keen on salary retention. Could a third team get involved? Sure, that's possible too. That's going to get more costly though for the Leafs. And are they going to want to move more assets besides just Robertson if that were indeed the agreed upon trade? It's difficult to say. I suspect the Leafs are definitely going to want to add on the blue line. This potential deal, if it were to happen, has the framework to maybe become a larger deal. We've heard for some time that there's multiple defensemen with the Jackets that are likely going to be available, and that the Leafs are a team that would want to add on the blue line. There's no doubt they would. It's going to probably have to wait till closer to the deadline to try to make the space work. That's going to be a challenge for Brad True living in the Toronto Maple Leafs. Who are they going to move out? When you look at the roster, there's not a lot there that's really obvious that they'd want to move that other teams would have interest in. So it's kind of difficult to say exactly. I mean, this is not the perfect trade by any means. To get a guy like Jenner and a defenseman off of the Jackets, it seems complicated. Like, I just don't know who they're moving to make that space. So we'll definitely have to wait and see how this goes. There could be other moves. Would Samsonov be involved? That would be a big help to make in the salary cap space. There is rumors that the Jackets may take, they're definitely taking calls on Elvis Merzlikins. There's no doubt about that. He may or may not be moved because, of course, he comes with some term as well. So if Samsonov were involved or moved, that could free up enough space to probably bring in a guy like Jenner. But again, is that going to be something the Leafs want to do? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how Samsonov plays between now and the rest of the year, because they're going to need another legit backup. I mean, Joseph Woll could come back. Maybe they go with Woll and Jones in the playoffs. It's not the worst idea. I don't know. It's really challenging to say how they proceed with their goaltending. We'll have to see Samsonov in action before we know really what we're talking about and dealing with when it comes to that situation. So we'll see where things go. Let me know your thoughts on all of today's news and rumors down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.